Hi, I'm Chelsea Whittington, your host of A Day in the District. A Day in the District is a program where we highlight all of the amazing things happening in the Gary Community School Corporation. Today, I'm so excited to welcome my friend and colleague, Kim Bradley, who is the Chief Academic Officer for the Gary Community School Corporation. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
I can tell.
Okay.
It's the inside joke. When Kim was invited to be on the show, you were a little hesitant because I know you are the behind the scenes
I
type
am.
making it happen.
I am.
But I felt very compelled to have you on the show for the simple fact that, as you well know, the Gary Community School Corporation is still currently in state takeover status. There are requirements we obviously have to meet to come from out of that predicament. And the first level of that was really focused on the finances. As you know, they were saying you got to clean up your finances, you have to get a balanced budget, and all these things that were taking place with the team to get that done. Meanwhile, there's this rallying cry, which is well worth it, of what about the academics? What about student performance? What about graduation rates? And while the team had been working on this, it wasn't getting as much play, if you will. And so I thought it very important for you to come on so that we can have a conversation about the curriculum, the academics, and all the strides being made to ensure that our students are academically successful. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, who is Kim Bradley? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your education, and your story.
Well, I am the oldest of 8.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I have a husband and 2 boys. I am a product of Gary Schools.
Horace
A native
Mann?
of, yes, Horace Mann. I'm a
Okay.
native of Gary. I actually taught in the system my first year out, but that was back when first and second year teachers were often rift or reduction in force. And when I was rift, I went over to our neighboring district, EC, and I did my first 13 years there, or second set. I taught first, fourth, and fifth grade. I became an assistant principal, and then district office administrator following that. And when the opportunity arose to come back to Gary, I jumped on it.
I know you did.
I was excited to come back to the district where I started, kind of full circle. In this role is important to me, and I think it's great to be a part of the team that we have that is working to turn everything around.
That's right. And you know what I really liked? My ears perked up when you went down the line saying first grade, second grade, fifth grade, assistant principal. It's always comforting to know that when we have people in those high roles like chief academic officer, that you've been through the trenches, if you will. You've been on the front line, you've worked with parents, you've worked with children, and you have experienced the curriculum firsthand, so you kind of know the do's and don'ts, and maybe this is effective, maybe not so much that.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a little bit of a curriculum nerd. I like to read about best practices and how students learn best and what ways we can innovate instruction so that our children are getting what they need instead of just a package. But
Yes.
kind of differentiating that instruction to meet our kids where they are.
Yeah. So for a regular average Joe who just tuned in and said, what are they talking about? In layman's terms, what is curriculum?
Curriculum it's the standalone. It is the standards. It is the what you teach. The instruction is the how, and so those two are together always. So curriculum and instruction is our focus, and upon coming back to the Gary system, we have rich curricular pieces, but what we needed and what we're focusing on is making certain that we have some continuity K-12 and that those instructional practices are research-based and those types of things.
Yes. So you are the expert in it, but as I listen to it, I'm just taken back to my school days, good old Ernie Pyle and Tolliston and Westside, and how excited we were when we graduated to the next book. Or what book are you in? I'm in Honeycomb, or I'm in Passports, and that's part of the curriculum process. But obviously, the times in which we live, there's a lot more technology involved when you fold it into curriculum. Talk a little bit about that.
Right. So we're actually in the midst of a curriculum adoption for reading. We're actually at the end. We had a caravan, a book caravan we call it, where different curricular companies come to us and they present. And some of the things that we were looking for is that seamless digital learning or digital instruction that, if need be, we're able to utilize both in-person and digital or online learning. And so that was one of the key areas that we looked at when we adopted the book that we're hoping to get approved next week.
Now, when you talk about adoption, I'm sure some people will say, well, how did the community have any buy-in with it, or who helps make that important decision of what we commit to over the next few years?
So the purpose of our school advisory council, they had a plan, a key part in the fact that we needed the curriculum updated for both reading and math, which we're going to work on.
Yes.
So they kind of gave us input on what are some key things that they felt we should look for. And one of them that came to the top was culturally responsive text, and also that our students see themselves in the books that they read, and so that was important to include in the rubric that we use to choose our instruction. And so we're really happy that
but that is very
that
important.
Is key.
I often think about testing, which we'll talk about in the next segment. When you look at the various questions, how they're formulated, can we really relate to them when you're answering one answer? I mean, is it correct in one sense from a cultural standpoint? And so all of those things are very interesting to me, and that's why I had to have you on the show. If you're just tuning in, welcome to A Day in the District, where I am having an amazing conversation with our Chief Academic Officer, Kim Bradley. We're going to talk all things from curriculum adaptation, test scores, and where the district is headed for the next few school years. You know, we had a pandemic, and you know we had to make a pivot. And when we come back, Kim Bradley, we're going to talk about what your team did and how we came together to make sure that our students are successful. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
Don't tell anybody, but I'm a bookworm. I'm one of those very ambitious, highly motivated, overachievers you've heard about. When I enrolled in Gary Community Schools, I thought I'd be all alone. Sort of like an anomaly or a unicorn. Turns out, that wasn't true at all. There's lots of us here.
Gary Schools. Strong, resilient, built for education.
Welcome back to A Day in the District. I'm your host, Chelsea Whittington, chatting it up with the curriculum queen, my friend Kim Bradley, our Chief Academic Officer of the Gary Community School Corporation. When we went to break, Kim, I broached the conversation about March 13th. So, you know, we're constantly on calls together, email chains, etc. And when I got that message that, hey, we're shutting it down, my mind immediately went to, how are the kids going to learn? But the good news is that your team was already kind of preparing for that whole virtual experience. So talk a little bit about once we had to do the shutdown and what that meant for your team.
We, leading up to the 13th, as all of us kind of watching what was going on and kind of feeling like this may affect us, of course, in some kind of way, it was good that we had already been talking about a one-on-one program for Chromebooks.
Okay.
That was kind of already on the horizon. We just kind of expedited that process, and I think that we were able to execute by June about. So before that, we had conversations with our principals, with our teachers about how do we continue this instruction in this at-home setting.
Yes.
And so one of the things that we did was we got STEM kits for all of our K to 8th grade students sent to their homes.
Now tell everybody what STEM means.
Oh, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yes.
So we thought it might be important that our students have a way to do some hands-on learning with their families at home, something fun and exciting. And so those STEM kits got to their homes, and the children were able to participate with some cool activities, and we're very proud of that.
Nice.
Along with teachers continuing their instruction by putting instruction online, because we did have that component
Yes.
to some degree. We just needed to make certain that the hardware that the children would need was available to them.
Yes, that's more than a notion. So I want to talk a little bit more about when we talk curriculum, it's one thing to adopt it, but it's another thing to implement, working with teachers, teachers' aides. How does that process work when you say, we're switching over to this, everybody, and go? I know it's
Right.
not that easy.
No, it has to do with a lot of professional development. Luckily, we did we will have an approval on a curriculum piece that is very tied to research-based standards.
Okay.
Research-based instructional practices. So those that are already in place, this curriculum for our reading ELA should seamlessly work with what we were already accustomed to. I think some of the professional development is just around the fact that this particular piece has a SEL component that is embedded in the lessons.
Now, what's SEL?
SEL is social emotional learning.
All right.
So we are strengthening our SEL offerings and our MTSS, which is multi-tier systems of support.
You
So
are a curriculum nerd.
I know, right?
I love it.
So the idea is that we put our resources around the whole student, that we, yes, deal with those academic needs, but also the fact that some of our children have experienced trauma, maybe all of us during this pandemic,
Yes.
and that affects the way a child learns. And so we
Yes.
have to be aware of that and be able to deal with it and understand it, and utilize those strategies that will help them continue to learn.
And I'd love to pile on to that. The recent passage of the referendum also will have some dollars attached to that for that social emotional component for our students.
Absolutely. It is very important. No longer can we as educators just worry about the academic piece. We have to consider how the social emotional development of our students is going.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. We talked about, the research-based piece for adaptation. Are there specific state standards that we also have to align with? Because, each school district can't just go off and do their own thing.
Yeah, we absolutely make certain that the curricular pieces align to the state standards, and every grade level, actually pre-K to 12, have standards for ELA, math, science, social studies, and we ensure that those are the basis of our instruction and that the curricular pieces support that.
Okay. So earlier when you talked to us about your astonishing career of being in the classroom and then into administration and now coming full circle, coming back home to good old Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are maybe one or two times where you just hit a curriculum home run. Will you share one with me where it's like, I worked this thing from beginning to end, and then to see it in the classroom?
Probably maybe during my fourth grade and fifth grade times, I facilitate the classroom. Like, that is my thing. So the students are the center. And so a lot of times we would present the standards, of course, but students got a chance to choose the activities, choose how they learn and how they show their learning. And so I was in a fifth grade classroom, and I had looped with my students, and so they created PowerPoint presentations and put on plays to explain or show their learning about social studies topic that we were doing.
Nice.
And that was really interesting. Those children really flourished in that. And then the other piece would be math instruction. I love to do like inquiry math, where students come up with different ways to solve the problems and discuss, and you can really see how a child thinks and what ways you can assist and help them grow and help them when there's some miscues or misunderstandings.
There's that twinkle in her eye. You should see what I see as you talk about what you love and your passion, and we understand that the materials and the resources that we provide to our students are critical in their success. We're getting ready to wrap up this segment, but there is something that when we come back, I want to talk about.
Okay.
One of the things rumbling always in our community, we have state standards to meet around graduation, and that definitely connects back to the curriculum and testing. And so when we come back to A Day in the District, we're going to continue to talk with Kimberly Bradley, who is our Chief Academic Officer, and I love to refer to as the Curriculum Queen. And we're going to talk about, one, state testing, and two, what's coming down the pike when it comes to curriculum in 2021 and school year 2022.
Okay.
I'm your host, Chelsea Whittington. We are A Day in the District. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
It's gross. I don't really want to talk about it.
She didn't want to at first, but I mean, it's no big deal. Everybody does it.
I was ready, totally ready, because we had been practicing this dance for weeks.
He was supposed to take this girl to this dance, but
I sprained my ankle at track practice.
I hate sharing anything personal. It's so disgusting.
For the dance, I let her wear my shoes and she hated it, but I thought she looked great in them.
he could barely even walk.
I ended up taking some pills for my pain.
Yeah, they were my mom's, but
It didn't go well.
If it's not yours,
If it's not yours,
if it's not yours,
Hey you,
don't take it.
don't take it.
don't take it.
don't take it. You won't believe what happened next.
Hello, my name is Dr. Paige McNulty. I'm the manager for the Gary Community School Corporation, and I am pleased to be joined today with the Jackson 5 family members, Tito and Marlon Jackson.
Hi,
how are you? Thanks for
Nice
being
to
here
see you
today.
again. Not only are we members of the world-famous Jackson 5, but we are proud products of the Gary schools.
Growing up in Gary, our school system afforded great opportunities from academics to extracurricular activities.
And today is no different. This is why we encourage you to enroll your child in the Gary schools today.
For more information, please call 219-881-5466 or visit garyschools.org. And please remember, enroll in Gary Schools today.
Yes,
That's right.
definitely enroll.
Gary Schools.
Strong, resilient.
Built for education.
Welcome back to A Day in the District. I'm your host, Chelsea Whittington, having such a great time talking to Kim Bradley, our Chief Academic Officer for the Gary Community School Corporation. We left off our conversation talking about that word that makes us all nervous, testing. So right now, the district, the young people are going through testing. Can you talk a little bit about what that entails and what levels are doing what?
So I learned testing is a state mandated test. It used to be ISTEP. It is for our 3rd through 8th grade students. It tests ELA, math, science at some levels, social studies at others, and then we have a biology that our upper high school students take. I-Learn is an adaptive test, meaning students have a period of time to answer questions, and it allows the students to take as much time really as they need to. There are some pieces where they have to answer multiple choice questions, but also where they need to show their understanding.
Comprehension, reading
and it is it's not an easy test, but our students are doing pretty well right now. Our 5th grade and 4th graders have tested. Tomorrow is the last day for our 5th graders, and then our 3rd graders take their test, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are testing currently. So,
well, by the time this airs, we know they will have been well tested, and we will have great news to report, I'm sure. Along the lines of testing, the other conversation, it's my job to have my ear to the ground in the community, and there's always that measurement of, tests, curriculum, that's all great. How is our graduation rate? What are we doing to ensure that our students walk across the stage? And there's several things that your team continues to employ along with other departments.
Absolutely. We have some programs that we've implemented probably about 2 months ago, where our 12th graders and our 11th graders even are back in the building. We're supporting them.
I can hear them now.
We're supporting them. They are online and with their teachers, trying to ensure that they have the credits and the classrooms completed, the classes completed, so that they are able to graduate. And we're on course to have a comparable graduation rate as to prior to the pandemic as well.
Yes, because we know we aren't the only district that's suffering from learning loss.
Right.
And so the districts have been charged, thanks to some amazing federal and state funding that will help support us in our efforts to combat that learning loss and address that, which says summer school. Everybody smile with me. Summer school and STEM. Can you talk about what we have coming up for all of our students, K through 12?
K to 12, pre-K to 12.
Pre-K through
Pre-K to 12, we have extended our summer school offerings and extended the day. So we will offer summer school from 9 to 2 o'clock. The morning half will be more of a traditional summer school, and the afternoon is STEM focused.
Okay.
So students will be able to participate in hands-on activities, very engaging, age appropriate. We're very excited. I'm sure students will be excited. We're excited to have them.
I'm sure
back
parents
in the
are
buildings.
excited. They're probably
Parents are
getting closer to their TVs now. Like, when does this
9
start?
to 2. Yeah, 9 to 2, 4 days a week. And we are very excited to see those kids back in our buildings. We have 3 of the elementaries that are going to host.
Okay.
And then our middle school and high school students will be here at Westside.
Nice.
We're excited to offer that.
We're excited to open our doors to them. And I also understand that transportation will be provided.
Transportation, we have, of course, breakfast and lunch. And we have also discussed a snack, just because the day is a little longer than
Who doesn't love a snack?
that we've had before. So,
Okay.
absolutely.
Well, I will encourage parents and guardians who are watching to be sure to stay tuned to our website, our Facebook page, social media. We'll be doing robocalls, mailings. We find people will stop you on the street and say, did you know the Gary Community School Corporation will be hosting summer school for pre-K through 12, and then they can also contact their local school to get more information?
Yes.
Okay, that
they
sounds...
can. We have spots for all grade levels at all 3 of those schools.
Okay. So what would a conversation about curriculum be without talking about actual graduation? Graduation is coming up.
Yes, it is. We're so excited to be able to this year, post-pandemic, be able to host our graduates in person.
Yes.
So we're going to have graduation is June 6th. At 2 o'clock. It is going to be here at the high school, but on the football field. And we're really excited to have those folks back.
Yes, I have been talking with some of the seniors whom I work with various programs and obviously with enrollment messaging. And they tell me that they have missed out on so much.
Right.
And I just feel like we owe it to them when it comes to graduation. So for those of you who are watching, again, graduation is going to be Sunday, June 6th at 2 p.m. right here at Westside Leadership Academy. And watch for more details on that regarding ticket information, because we still will be socially distancing.
We absolutely will be still social distancing, and I believe that we will limit the number of tickets per graduate.
But the good news is we'll be broadcasting live right on our Facebook page and YouTube, so anybody can attend anywhere in the world. Last thing as we get ready to wrap up, Kim, it's enrollment always for Gary Schools.
Yes.
Can you tell me in 30 seconds, tell them in your camera why people should enroll their children in the Gary Schools?
People should enroll their children in the Gary Schools because we have dedicated teachers and staff members who really want to do what is best for our students, have the tools to do what's best for our students. We have exciting programs upcoming for next school year, and we really want to do everything we can to support our community and our students in schools.
I couldn't agree with you more. If you're interested in enrolling your child, do us a favor and give us a call at 219-881-5466. We have parent liaison liaisons in every building to help you get your child enrolled. And with that, it has been my pleasure, Kim, to have you as our special guest. Ladies and gentlemen who are watching, this is Kimberly Bradley, our Chief Academic Officer. I want to personally thank you for all that you do on behalf of our children. Thank you so much for watching A Day in the District. I've been your host, Chelsea Whittington. Don't forget to follow us online, and we'll see you next time.
WSTG.